This is a conversation with Payal Shah. She's a fine jewelry designer, entrepreneur, and storyteller who is the founder of multiple brands, including L'Dezen and Psylish. In this conversation, we discuss her childhood growing up in Hong Kong. We talk about her studying architecture and interior design and how she could extract the benefits from that in the role she does now. We talk about the challenges of building a fine jewelry brand, a luxury brand, and then we spend the bulk of our time talking about her creative and design process. This is no time. If you like what you see, then do hit subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, rate 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. This project takes a lot of my time, money, and effort. So if you'd like to see it continue, do consider making a donation on Patreon or Anchor. You can buy super thanks on YouTube. You can join as a member on YouTube. You can leave gifts on Instagram Reels. If not through monetary channels, do consider sharing these episodes, leaving your likes and comments. All forms of engagement, they really go a long way. For other forms of love and support, you can follow this channel on Instagram or Twitter, or follow me personally. And now is no time. Anthony Bourdain had once said, Hong Kong is a wonderful place. It's so uniquely itself, its own culture, its own pace. And it's a beautiful juxtaposition of old and new. Take me back in time. Let's get inside a time machine and let's go back to your childhood growing up in Hong Kong. What was it like growing up in that city, that juxtaposition of old and new that Anthony Bourdain had described? For those of us who haven't been, how do you describe the city and the experience of growing up there?
If I could metaphorically put it into culture, a sense of culture, it is a giant hot pot melting pot. You had so many amazing different cultures and religions and different backgrounds from different countries and cities all coming together. I went to an international school. So for me, that was even more so because I was in the same city and in the same idea of this expat as many others that had moved, whether it was first, second, or third generation. But more so when I was growing up, super lively, super vibrant, lots going on, celebrating so many different cultures. If you still go today, you'll see different temples and every step of the way, all coming together into one urban architecture.
You were born in Mumbai, I
Correct.
believe, right? Does it make a difference if you're a person of Indian origin in Hong Kong? Or is it such a diverse place that it's not uncommon to find people from so many different walks of life that makes no difference that you're an expat?
I was born in Bombay and it was just in a few months that I was moved there. So it was just a matter of my mother trying to give birth in India. So for me, all I've known is growing up in Hong Kong. And to the point where it is my home. It is where I feel the most myself, as we do when we go back home. It's got a really big brown society and culture. We've got Punjabis, Sindhis, Pakistanis, Kashmiris, Bengalis, all kinds of different Indians that come together and coincide with the other cultures and backgrounds that come together. Was it rare? Not really, because just like New York or other major cities, Hong Kong is such a business savvy city that you'd be damned if you didn't find Indians in a city where you could make some money and a trading platform, right?
Interesting. I'm glad it worked in your favor because as a person of Indian origin, I grew up in Dubai and the Middle East my entire life. And I had always sensed this very interesting dichotomy where I always felt like the other, whether it's with the Indians, definitely with the Arabs. And there's this poem I really like which says, so here you are, too foreign for home, too foreign for here, but never enough for both.
Yeah.
And I feel that every single day of my life. But over time, I've started to notice the positive aspect of it, which is if you constantly have this feeling of being the outsider, it really detaches you from a lot of cultural aspects that might be subconsciously ingrained in you because you don't have that emotional investment in it. And it allows you to, I guess, make decisions that are probably detached from that form of investment. I guess you didn't get that feeling of an outsider. Am I talking crazy?
It's funny you say that
Yeah.
because I always say like Dubai is the best country outside. Well, in India, outside of India,
Greatest city in the world.
no. That's a saying. Like it's the best city outside of India. Like it's like that. I would assume that you would feel really at home because culturally we look quite similar to Arabs as opposed to me and an Asian person, right?
Yeah.
So you would think that we'd have a bit more of a contrast between us. Look, I'm not saying every day was pleasant or there aren't prejudice or racism involved in the part of growing up in any major city. Yeah. I just feel like how you address it and how you deal with it. I don't think it was anything major where I felt like I was terrorized in any way for being a certain culture or religion. So I'm not sure if I see it as like the major component of not feeling outside inside, because like I said, everyone was in the same boat as me in the sense that everyone had a different background, that then they adapted to a new culture and a background whilst adapting to this new city. And, you know, I just remember my school fairs and being about all cultures. Like we celebrated Diwali and we celebrated like Chinese New Year and we celebrated Hanukkah, we celebrated whatever kind of diversity we had within our class. And I think I guess that's what the beauty of being a part of an international city, an international melting pot was like. It was known as Asia's world city. It wasn't known as Asia. It was Asia's world city. Yeah.
Sounds fantastic. I guess I have to visit. Let's close the loop on Hong Kong. Let me ask you some rapid fire questions. These are really important.
Yes.
So I would take this very seriously if I was you. Multiple choice.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I want to visit Hong Kong and I really want to explore the art, design and culture. Should I go to the Dai Kwun Center or the Police Married Quarters, or should I go to the West Kowloon Cultural District?
I know you're not going to like this answer, but Hong Kong is one city in the world where you can do all three within the 2-hour span because we have amazing transportation.
It's not the premise. You have to pick one.
I know, but it's not a choice. That's the beauty about Hong Kong. You said rapid fire. I can do those 3 and like probably 4 more in one day. That's the beauty of Hong Kong. You could do like 100 things.
It's a cop-out. You have to pick one.
They all have different exhibitions going on at different times. So it's not even about the spaces because every few months you'll see a different artist or a different exhibition that is attracting different consumers. West Kowloon is the most newest and become sort of the culture hub for art because a lot of the we have the M+ Museum there, which is a stunning building and brings in a lot of the local community to come in and see art. But that being said, all these other ones that you've mentioned, it really depends on the artist. It would be unfair if I just picked one.
I'm going to give you the rules of a multiple choice question.
No, I usually would be very adamant, but it's more than just a building, right? It's more than just a location. It's really if you ask me, hey, I'm going to watch X artist in this museum and I'm going to watch X artist in this, then maybe I'd able to answer like, hey, based on the artist exhibition you're going to see, maybe, it's more the content.
Okay, fine. I'll concede this one, but for the next one, you have to pick one.
Okay.
Let's say I can only eat at one place, and just like you, I also follow a plant-based diet. So should I go to either Chongqing, Sichuan?
Yeah,
should I go to Veggie Kingdom? Or should I go to the Kowloon Cricket Club?
Oh my gosh.
Only one.
No, okay.
You have to.
Well, Chongqing.
It's a controversial decision.
It is. But you know, she's my favorite.
Okay. Well, fans of Veggie Kingdom, any hate mail we get, any angry comments, I'm going to send it your way. I'm taking no responsibility for all this.
I didn't say I hate it.
Yeah, but you did definitely pick one over the other. It's fine.
Which is so normal.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'll send it all your way. I'm not part of this decision. Any controversy, keep me out of it. Okay, let's close the loop on Hong Kong. So after you grew up in Hong Kong, you went on to study architecture at the University of Westminster.
Correct.
And then you got a diploma in interior design at the Inchbald School of Design.
Yeah.
You've mentioned in a previous interview that when you're going to university, you're not certain that you wanted to be an architect, but you wanted to pick up skills, right? So you felt that business and management is something you could learn later. That's something that could be self-taught. But design skills or designing applications is something that you really want to pick up at university.
Yeah.
You now work in design, in jewelry design. You're an entrepreneur. When you look back now, are you able to draw those links? Were there any benefits of studying architecture and interior design? Are you able to map out the advantages of studying that degree, or there's no benefit at all?
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that because when I look at my assets today, when I compare it to someone who may have gone to a business school, is that skill sets today in itself are a business and hold so much value. I think when I was learning architecture, not only was I just learning your basic set of, how to make buildings, I'm learning art history, engineering, I'm learning Photoshop. Like we had a full-on class on Photoshop, and just to have that skill set was so awesome because I was able to use it in so many promotional and marketing materials today that would cost me maybe an X amount more to my business. I mean, it was every skill set had equated into some kind of dollar in the future. And the interior design was, I realized that I actually didn't want to build big. I wanted to build small. So I started I feel like interior was like still scaling down. I realized that as much as I love and appreciate architect and buildings and structure and urban and modern and Art Deco designs, I wanted to translate that into smaller objects and not bigger.
Oh, very interesting. And that was during the course itself that you realized that?
Yeah. I always thought to myself, if I'm going to spend that kind of money and go off to university, I'm Gujarati, which I know might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but my father is a very savvy businessman. So is my mother. So I've been working with them and under them for so many years. It's not like I disrespect anyone that goes to learn and business and during their undergrad. I just knew that if I came out learning more skill sets, I could possibly be able to get better opportunities.
Yeah,
at that time.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So hate mail from Veggie Kingdom and people who study business. I had sending it your way.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. I can definitely see the links. You brought up working with your family. After you graduated, you started working in hospitality.
Yeah.
And on the side, you were designing jewelry for yourself as a passion project.
Yeah.
Your parents are in the diamond industry. And then a group spotted one of your collections and they asked you to design a collection for them.
Correct.
And you hit the ground running from there.
Yes.
Was it challenging for you to enter the world of design, jewelry design, entrepreneurship with a slightly unconventional path? Did you find that it gave you any benefits because maybe you're coming in with a fresh perspective, you're not married to old traditions? Or do you get the feeling that worked against you initially because you felt like you were always catching up, or maybe there was a sense of imposter syndrome?
I feel like I went through all of those emotions. I mean, as one does, it's like the opportunity is there. I have the background, I have the legacy, and that is always great if you can use it to your benefit and then also create something of yourself. I don't think there's an issue with that. I'm glad that my first many years was not working around my family, but just going off and doing things for other companies and working, because I feel like there's no better way to learn than under someone who doesn't have any emotional attachment to you in many sense, like is really out there to just make sure you're doing the best work for them. And that really disciplines you. And I think everyone should go off and learn and whatever they want to pursue and go and work for someone under someone to get some discipline and just to understand what a really hardworking environment looks like. Just that it gives you a reality check. And I don't think that sometimes is possible necessarily within the family business.
Yeah.
But again, to each his own. And as for getting approached and really I thought of it as this could be an extra additional income. I think I could be great at it. I love it. I've grown up with it. I also see the gap in the market for creating more lightweight and more wearable, accessible jewelry. I wanted to create really unique designs, but not necessarily something that you only take out once a year, but be able to wear on a regular basis. So these were design problems I was trying to look at, beautiful artistic designs, really luxurious looking, but not hitting the bank too hard. And so that was all of the elements. Hence, when the architecture spark came in, I created the most lightweight designs, which meant our gold costs were down. And when creating these pieces, but looked beautiful. So that was sort of the niche I started off with.
Yeah. When you met other founders and who had found similar brands, did you find this background really helped you set your brand apart as well?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. What's amazing about architecture, and if I can put it into one sentence, is it really gives you the power to understand perspective and depth. So you are able to visualize scale. Like I can sort of guess what a centimeter, a meter, and what a final product can look like because I was trained to understand perspective and scale as an architecture or even an interior design. Yeah. You can look at a floor plan and think that sofa is going to be way too big based on that spatial dimension within the space. So then you translate that into other aspects of your life, like fashion or jewelry or design. It's like you can visualize a better sort of outcome of what it's going to look like, possibly quicker and faster than other people.
Yeah, that can definitely be quite powerful, I imagine.
Yeah.
You've mentioned in a previous interview that when you were just starting off, you had this fear that a jewelry brand from Hong Kong might not be taken seriously as a luxury brand. You've now been in the industry for more than a decade. You've built this brand from scratch. Was that fear grounded in reality? Do you get the feeling that there is a bias in this industry that if you don't come from a certain place, if you don't look a certain way, you might not be taken seriously?
In the beginning, absolutely, because I started off as a manufacturer. I worked with the manufacturers, and even though I was creating these designs, I was selling them for people who might white label them and sell them under their own brands. That was like how I started off. But the traveler in me and the girl in me that's seeing the world realized that, hey, it's part of me. Like I am the brand itself, and I'm turning. And it just honestly stumbled on me one day when clients started telling me, hey, can we use you and you as a designer and you as a storyteller to sell these pieces in our stores? And it was like something I was being asked by people consumers I was selling to, being like, there's an added value if you really talk about your journey, especially given your expertise in architecture, the fact that you have a diamond legacy, all of those elements. So I started off as a manufacturer. The money was great. You're selling bulk and you're making so good money. I was coming to the Javits Center, Vegas, Istanbul. And alongside, I was branding a collection of its own. Both have great business models, separate business models. One is a bit more lucrative than the other. One is a bit more brand building. And there's a little bit more of a glamorous lifestyle to the other one. And I feel like I just keep switching between the two because my foundation is always going to be that I understand the manufacturing aspect and I can't remove that or take that away from it. And I think now it really plays a power play because we call our brands factory straight to consumer, like no middleman markup. And I think a lot of people appreciate that when buying jewelry today because there's so much transparency and there's no like 4 different people marking the piece before you're actually wearing it on your wrist. And I think there's a lot of there's a lot of an asset to that story today. And in fact, I have now the ability to customize, give people more options because I know exactly if we're able to or capable of doing certain things or not. Yeah.
When you were starting off, I don't know how the market was, but I'm assuming there might have not been that many luxury brands from Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. Was that ever a problem when you were building the brand?
Not really. I didn't see myself as like a brand from Hong Kong per se because I was taking the brand and the business to many cities, right? Okay. We were our biggest market at one point was Istanbul. Like I was staying there at least 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, interesting.
Twice a year because what would happen is the Russians and the neighboring countries would come into Istanbul and buy their luxury goods from there. And, at one point, New York was like the biggest market for me. Or we did like a show in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And like we've done lots of fun pop-ups and shows so many places in the world. We like, just like Hong Kong, we're Asia's world jewelry brand.
Okay, I definitely want to pick your brains on your creative process, your designing process. So how do you go about designing something new? You mentioned something very interesting earlier about the skills you picked up from architecture, about spatial awareness, helps you visualize as well. But I really want to dive into how do you start? Let's say you start from a blank slate. Do you first have a design in mind? Do you get inspired from somewhere and then try to build the story around it, build the context and the narrative from there? So it's more of a bottom-up approach. Or do you first have the story or vision in mind and then reverse engineer, break it down, try to come up with the design that tells that story, which is more of a top-down approach? What do you think works?
I I don't know if they both can apply given the what I'm trying to achieve from the final aspect of it. The best way to put this is I don't actually follow seasons. So it won't be like, oh, fall or summer, because I think jewelry is all seasons. Like you don't have diamonds that you can just wear for winter. I mean, you should wear them every day, all day. So I believe that my collections honestly come through as on the go, I'm inspired. A lot of the times it's business. It's like, okay, business is not doing great. So right now let's focus on very accessible jewelry. So let's only make things that are in demand, but obviously still using the same aesthetic that I have, like still me and very much to my DNA. Like I love flowers, natures, urban art, like urban art deco. So it'll still play a part in like the things that inspire me. But I also have to remember that I'm running a business and it's paying people's bills. And if I want to sustain myself, there has to be a consumer in mind that I'm making it for as well. And that changes a lot as seasons change or as the luxury market changes. I mean, what luxury is today, it was not 5 years ago. And the way people spend today might not be the way it was 5 years ago. And sometimes it's regional. So I know that this year I want to focus only on the US market. So then it will be very regional as to what I build and design. But that means like that gives me a consumer in mind. Then I can go back to the drawing board and be like, this is what's trending. This is what people want. People want jewelry that they can wear to the gym. Hence, I'm going to make something more accessible and easy to wear, something secure. Even the little aspects like double clasping my pieces so that there's no way someone's going to be able to snatch it off you. I mean, all of those elements play a part. And sometimes it might just be that we'll buy stones or colored stones or materials. And then I'll be like, I'll design something, but I just love the color. I just love the color of this emerald, or I just love the color of this sapphire. Yeah. And then I just take it to my drawing board and be like, okay, what can we, if we have a pair, maybe we'll make it earrings. Like, what should we do with that? Or if we have beautiful sapphires, then we'll do a collection of sapphire jewelry for that. Or if we do collaborations that we did recently with a brand in Hong Kong, we did all emeralds, yellow gold, nothing else. And then the whole collection was just that. So it can be very, very varied based on the different needs of the consumer.
So there's an element of play involved, I guess, where if you find something interesting, inspiring, just get it and try to see where that takes you as well. Yeah.
And then, you kind of balance out the risk in your jewelry too. So I'll create things that I know are going to be great sells anyway. Like I'm not taking a risk. And then you balance it out by making some things that are possibly risky so that over time, your balance sheet is not as as risk avert if you have a few of everything, and then you can try new things out while still retaining what works. Yeah. And I think that's a really good way to sustain and keep like experimenting with the consumer. Yeah.
There's a classic tussle when you're building your own brand or you're building your business, which is building something that you like and you believe in, and building it for an audience or building it for a customer. And there's this tussle because oftentimes brands can lose the customer that they're trying to build to us because they're just stuck on the vision that they have. But then that is also the reason people gravitated towards it in the first place. On the other hand, if you keep building for the customer, you lose the identity you started with. And often people fail to gauge what the customer actually needs. Have you come across?
Yeah, I mean, that's in the beginning when I had started off with sliced diamonds, which are a slice of a diamond, and they're rough and they required a lot of education. People loved them because they are natural stones, they have beautiful facets, but the education was where all our marketing dollars were going. And then that's why we had a big Hollywood approach to this. Like we got lots and lots of different celebrities to start wearing them so that it validated how beautiful they are, and people felt a little bit more assigned to wearing them and more confident, if not before, or at least spending the money to buy them. So it again continues to differ because sometimes I want to create something and I will say, but it's so beautiful. Why has it been in our inventory for a year? Like I see how beautiful it is. And you know what? Like you don't have to see eye to eye, which is why we have different risk. Like 20% of my like if I'm going to be investing X amount in my new designs, maybe 20% will go towards experimenting, another 30 towards like what we know what works, and there's a full on demand for it, and 30% that's classic. No matter what the season is, no matter if things, there's another COVID again, this will be an investment regardless, even if it sits in our safe for like 5 years, because it's your classic tennis necklace or classic wedding band that is always going to be in demand.
Weddings always in demand.
Or like anything to do with anything that's like classic, right? Bands, your regular flower jewelry, like flowers are always in fashion. It's never been an issue selling those. So yeah, I think dividing that risk, and then you're kind of satisfied, still kind of exploring your mind and your imagination, and yet the business isn't getting as affected just because of that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to focus on the R&D section, which you mentioned. How do you know when a design is ready? There's a quote by Salvador Dali that I really like, where he says, "Don't chase perfection. You'll never reach it." When you're designing something, how do you know when to stop? Like, I can stop moving things around, stop putting another gemstone. When do you stop? When is the design ready?
Cost is plays a big part. I mean, these days for sure, I want to create beautiful things, but I also want to make sure that the person who's going to want to buy it feels justified buying it as well. So that does play a little bit of an issue. Sorry, not an issue, but a sensitive role to designing. Other than that, I have a great team. I mean, I don't now sit and necessarily design everything. I'll give concepts, and then I'll have like people come back to me with some CADs and saying like, "What do you like this?" And I'll be like, "No, we can make this lighter." Yeah. But it's like it's not just my opinion. Hence, it's not biased. And so like obviously everyone in the company is wanting what's best for the company. And I think that's when like the stop comes. I think also when you're in it for so many years, you kind of train yourself. Like you are like sort of an LLM yourself. You're like, even though I love this design, I know where to stop, because it becomes I've done enough shows and I've experienced enough customers, and I've had so much feedback that I sort of know that it's time to stop, Payal. Like, there's other things that you need to focus on. And it's just a part of being matured in your journey of what you're building.
This might be a stupid question. In fact, I'm sure
there are no stupid questions.
You'll be surprised. Maybe quite abstract as well. But a lot of artists talk about the art telling you that it's ready, rather than the artist himself putting a stop to it. Have you ever felt this, that the piece itself tells you that this is the story it wants to tell, and then stops? Does it sound crazy? Not
at all. Sometimes, and especially with jewelry, it has a way of shining and shimmering. Everything's splendid, and you just, there's no negative spaces. You feel like it's the right amount of weight. It feels great. And my biggest, if we're talking mantras, is if you don't feel like something, whether it's presentations or jewelry or anything that you're doing in your life, sleep on it, honestly, and sleep on it maybe for 2 nights. Because I feel like when you come back with fresh mind and a fresh eye, you will know straight away. Like your first impression of that thing you've been working on for the last few days and then taking a little break from, and then come back to, is going to feel very different if you just let it go for a few days and really try to let it go. Like really try to think about it and touch it and even try to see it. So sometimes when I'm doing a design or sketching or even a presentation, and I feel like I've been looking at it for way too long that it's almost morphing into something that I can't see. Take a break. It's just walk away from it, and either you're going to have some time to think about it and come back and just come with a fresh perspective, and you will know if it's ready or not.
That's great advice. How much does jewelry tell you about a person? You've been in this industry for so long. You've been studying it, and you've been studying how it changes people, how it can change the perception of someone. How much can you read a person's personality just from the choices they've made in the choice of clothes, fashion, accessories, jewelry? Can you just read a person's personality even before they open their mouth?
Oh, I think that's what that's what fashion and jewelry is. It's like being able to make a first impression without using words. A lot of people also want to be perceived in a certain way, so they will address it through the way they dress and the accessories they wear. A lot of people dress for the job they want. I always say that a lot of people want to appear luxurious, so will wear luxurious, even if in the little budget that they can. And it's all about how you want to be perceived versus how people perceive you. And a lot of the times you try to match the show. Like, how do I perceive myself as someone who's qualified for the job? Or how do I perceive myself as someone that is fashionable or someone that's poetic or artistic? Yeah. And I think jewelry plays a big part of it. Especially with jewelry, there is so much storytelling as well. People, a lot of the times, it's like, who gave it to you? Where did you buy it? Was it on holiday? Was it a gift to yourself when you received your first promotion? So it's very cool in that sense that it is monumental in many ways. And I feel like that really says a lot about someone as well and how they show themselves self-love.
A lot of context to jewelry as well.
Yeah.
You have so many, at least in India, and there's a tradition of passing down jewelry in families as well.
Of course, yeah.
And there's so much weight and memories attached to every time you put something on.
Yeah, provenance plays such a big part of most jewelry. I mean, some of the most expensive jewelry in the world are expensive because of the people that have worn them in the past, right? Like the Mughals or the royals or whatnot. Yeah.
You mentioned when you were working with Slice Diamonds that there was an education aspect and that you had to get some celebrities to add that validation to it. You were watching TV one day at home when you were watching American Idol and you spotted Sharon Osbourne wearing one of your earrings.
Yeah.
And from that point on, many celebrities have worn your work, which includes Rihanna, Lady Gaga, Nick Jonas, Michelle Obama, Demi Lovato, Tiffany Haddish, J-Lo, Nicki Minaj, Mindy Kaling. How much does this matter? What weight do celebrity endorsements carry in this world, in the world of luxury brands? Do you think it's possible to build a brand without ever relying on celebrity endorsements? Or do you think it's an integral part of the business? It's one of the main channels of marketing.
I'm going to start with the second question.
Okay.
Can you build a brand without celebrity endorsements? If your brand becomes big enough, even without it, celebrities are going to start wearing it because celebrities want to be seen in the hottest brands. So if it's a trending piece, then let's say the consumer activation's gone up, and then all of a sudden you're going to see, because at the end of the day, celebrities are humans and they also follow trends and want to be seen in the coolest, newest attire that's available. Yeah. So it's gonna happen regardless of if you're just creating a product that is like desired by everyone. For me, because it was a new product, I was a new brand. It started off as like you said, I was watching television one day and it ended up being a store that we worked with, and I used it as promotional material. What was on Facebook that day, back then. Yeah. Throwbacks, major throwback. Yeah. And just seeing the validation the brand got just by having one endorsement and how much it increased visibility and people's trust and people's need to invest in it was enormous. And this was given, although I do have to add, this was when Instagram became popular. So this was very early days. Like I was getting these leads when people were just getting on social media. Like half of these celebrities were just, tagging, and
it was a rise of influencer marketing.
Exactly. It was just at the sort of the edge of influencer marketing and product placement. So I feel like I got in there at a really great time where it wasn't as common for brands to do it. So I was getting all these leads because I was one of the only few people doing it at that time, and saw like benefit in it. It's much harder to get that kind of placement today. I can tell you that from experience, because now every brand does it, and every brand's got like a relationship with the stylist, and now there's just way more celebrities too, right? Like there's there's TikTok celebrities, and there's Instagram celebrities, there's YouTube celebrities. So like there's just some more real estate to be seen on. But back then you had your Emmys, Grammys, and few of your music artists, actors. That the list you mentioned, as you can see, are all the older women, and like not older, but like the icons in the sense. There's no one really like an Instagram, like TikToker in that list right now. But that's why, because it was like at that time where these were what celebrities were, right? And then it was just like newer, younger actors and actresses. Yeah. So I feel like it really helped me, especially when you're introducing new materials. It's a great way to show loyalty and trust on a product, as long as then you pull through with the actual product. So that really just gets people on your website, a foot in the door, interested and excited. But then I think the second part is also as important, whereas like you promise them and show them a great product that they can actually have a great experience with.
How do you create a design specifically for a client? Let's say, let's run a thought experiment. Let's say I'm a big celebrity. I know you have to really stretch your imagination for this. Let's say, I think the jury's out on that. Let's say I'm prepping for the Met Gala.
Yeah.
How do you approach a new project like this? What are the type of questions you would ask a celebrity? What are you trying to gauge? How do you refine the design? What's the whole process?
So whenever we worked with celebrities at the Met Gala, it's actually the other way around. The theme is obviously decided by the corporate, like the gala itself. And then celebrities decide what kind of, it's actually not the celebrities. Most of them actually have just stylists who sort of come up with a concept, and it's the stylists that we work with. In most cases, if we have something that already meets the criteria or meets the vision that the stylist is looking for, great. Then it's just a loan out, and then that's it. One time is that with Mary J. Blige,
Heavenly Bodies.
Yeah. So that was very much like designed with the dress and the aesthetic in mind. So every
was there like back and forth involved? Were you involved in the creative process, or they just came to you with the idea?
So we worked with a PR firm in LA, and she's a dear friend. Shout out to Janina from Durazio, and she just has really great connections with all the stylists, and she would be the person, our sort of point of contact, because the stylist would speak to her, and then they would convey their concerns to us. And it was a lot of back and forth. But most times it's like they're not as fussy, as long as it meets the aesthetic and it looks great. They're quite, keen on working and just making a seamless experience.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Let me ask you for advice. You faced a lot of challenges. You started off really young, and you've mentioned in previous interviews that multiple times at trade shows, people mistook you as a member of the staff because you were that young and not a founder of the company. You were also a female founder in a traditionally male-dominated industry. You also started a jewelry brand in a very saturated market. And we spoke earlier about the perception of a brand if it comes from Hong Kong, if you look a certain way, whether it might be taken seriously or not. So there are a lot of challenges involved. So what is some advice that you can give to young founders, male or female, getting into this world, jewelry, fashion, or just general entrepreneurship advice? What hacks can you give them?
Well, the trend is already there. There's so many more young founders today than there ever were when we were at least when I was a young founder. I think when I was just doing it, it was just rare. So but now we have some amazing young founders who are females and of diversity and come from beautiful backgrounds. And I think they're using it to their strengths. I think if I was to do it all over again today, all of these play such a beautiful role in the storytelling of me and what I create and why I create it. If it wasn't for my upbringing in Hong Kong or China, I wouldn't understand how craftsmanship can be so precise and, work ethic is so great. My culture being Indian, I love vibrant colors and styles. Jewelry is such a big aspect in that sense of that community as well. And then obviously the travels and me being a woman is that I am solving something for women. And as for the travels, it's just a massive inspiration I get from it. I really don't think that's an issue these days as much as it was then. And I think it almost works in your favor. I mean, there are articles coming out that most companies now like to hire below 25. So, I mean,
what changed in the industry, do you know?
I think younger people just got more access to reach at a much younger age.
Okay.
Got smarter at a very much younger age. Now you have all the help in the world when it comes to, you can reach out to more people, more advisors, you can reach out to email and get opportunities a lot quicker than you did before. I think people are just smarter. I feel like when I play with some of my nieces and nephews or friends that have babies, I am astonished by how smart they are at the age of 2. They can name all the presidents and they're 3. So I think it's just the evolution of humans as we are passing obviously accessibility. And I mean, we live in the era of transparency. Back in the day, to know what every material cost would be something you just like heard from a different supplier or manufacturer. But now you can just Google anything, like how much is gold, how much is diamonds, how much is it to produce XYZ. It's all public knowledge. Yeah. So I think when you have that transparency, it becomes easier to build and grow. And I think more people are just taking chances on younger people. Younger people also have more access to money. I feel like maybe now like more people are funding regardless of your age and regardless of your background.
Yeah, I think that definitely is great advice. I want to pivot slightly and start talking about, surprisingly, metaverse, Web 3.0, NFTs. A few years ago, you partnered up with the founders of Digital Twin, Adrian and Natalie. You partnered up with Laid Back Llamas as well. And this breaks my brain because I cannot imagine how a physical, tangible object like jewelry can collide with these worlds. So how do they collide? What is the overlap?
It's funny you say that because we talked about most jewelry is bought, especially like you said in India, people buy with the idea of handing it down.
Yeah.
Now, currently we do that with just the idea that you're my son, I'm going to hand it down to, or your partner or your sister, whatever. The idea with Digital Twin was, and what it says in its name is that, you know, most jewelry doesn't reduce in value over time. It mostly actually based on its provenance might even increase in value based on where it's been, where it's like what showcase it's been in, who's worn it, whatnot. So the idea was that, hey, if there's a way we can chain the entire history of like a piece of jewelry, we can really add more value to it than it actually even exists. It also played as a proof of receipt, which was, again, on the chain. So if you look at a Rolex watch these days, the resale market is, in fact, 10 times more than actually just buying it from a Rolex store itself, to the point where Rolex has now started actually dabbling into their own resale market because it's such a power play. So if all these transitions were made on chain, it would be much more transparent to see efficiency, authenticity, to find certain products. Great for brands who are getting none of the percentage of the resale, right? So we really wanted to give back to the actual makers their version, their little, let's say, their commission on each of these resales, because obviously they're the carriers and they are the designers and the brand that actually created the demand for it in the first place. So there were many different elements. The idea was just to have them, obviously crypto, we were like trying to also tap into a new market, people who had a lot of cryptocurrencies and wanted to buy jewelry. So it was one more way of like accepting a form of payment as well.
You're also now working with AI, I believe. Yeah. How do those worlds collide?
So, I mean, as you may have realized, or when we've spoken about, technology has always been the forefront of everything I do, whether it's my brand or just, you know, how I lead my life. Tech is a really great way of making sure a brand remains to the modern times, especially if you're not a huge corporate that's putting in a lot of $1 million into just marketing and R&D. So what you use in return is tech, whether it's, like you said, R&D costs, reaching new clientele, like all the social media that's out there. What we're creating in AI, which is separate from the brand the business and the brand, me individually, is creating a text to design prompt. And we actually have a demo ready. It works. It's beautiful, where we guide you through a series of prompts and it gives you the final design straight away. Now this is I've been breathing it for the last few weeks. It's going to be amazing because you're going to be able to, what would have taken possibly 20 or odd days to just have about 2 minutes to come up with a concept or an idea ready to possibly put into production eventually. So added layers will be getting an estimate cost. I mean, the end goal possibly is like a marketplace, but that's all a little bit more in the future. Right now, we're just really focused on the text prompt to design aspect and really getting that right. It's so, you can basically say an emerald ring with hearts around it and Art Deco in the style of Art Deco in white gold, and it will give you 4 options that meet that prompt. And the idea is then to reprompt it and be able to like customize even more so.
Are stylists going to get replaced by prompt engineers?
Designers, you mean, right?
Or designers, I guess.
Yeah, right. Like the stylists, designers could end up using it. It's just that there is such a gap between actually having a design ready. I think the huge company and corporates have so many of their designers in-house, but what about like mom and pops that are just starting out, or just a husband looking to create a design for his wife, an engagement ring, and really wants to be part of like the design aspect of it? Yeah. Or what about, someone just is having a birthday and wants to give 10 of her friends like unique looking studs and doesn't really need to go hire a designer for it. There are so many use cases for this. I really, really like the gift giving idea, where you can really be part of the design process without having any skill sets and really visualizing. And then you don't really need to hire a designer for that. If you can most people just go on Pinterest anyway, and then they give it to a manufacturer. This at least feels authentic to your design, right? And then also just, for example, if I have a pair of 2-carat emeralds at home or rubies at home, and I don't really know what to design, I can actually tell that 2-carat round, give me styles in like the style of a heart, and it gives me all these beautiful designs. So I feel like big corporates can make a use of this, but I think they will also make use of this with consumers that come in, not necessarily like trying to replace their designers per se. I think people who are going to be using this aren't really using designers anyway, but this is actually just giving them a more personal touch to what they're creating.
Yeah, I love it. Make it more accessible to them. Where do you think jewelry is heading? Let's talk about the future of jewelry. I think it's very interesting. I think over the last 100 or 200 years, jewelry hasn't changed much. And I know this is a stupid thing to say because, of course, it's changed. Like people have gotten a lot more creative. Designs have gotten better. Materials have changed. They started using machines. It's become a lot more precise. But what I mean is on a macro level, if you look at a necklace from, let's say, 200 years ago, maybe some aristocrat wore it.
Yeah.
It would still fall in the same family of a necklace that you see today. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's still going to be the case moving forward, this physical object that you have, as we move more into the world of metaverse, Web 3.0, AI? Do you think this physical object goes away, completely loses value? The digital twin of it starts gaining more in value? Or do you feel like the physical, tangible objects are always here to stay?
Physical, tangible objects are always going to be here to stay, just like the fashion you wear and the haircut you get. And as we live in a society which not judges us, but perceives us based on how we look, and we give an impression and we want to convey a certain aura about us based on how we look, it's going to be a way to storytell without having to, like we discussed earlier. It is a way to create a story about yourself and really, put an aesthetic to yourself without actually having to say a lot. So in that sense, it's your body, and you're going to want to accessorize it in ways that really make you happy. And I think one of the major power plays that will combine future and jewelry is technology and jewelry combined. So basically your Aura rings will be more glamorous in the future. Your iWatch will be a little bit more chic, as already there are so many collaborations that the iWatch has with Hermes or like other luxury brands that are creating straps for them. So it'll be almost like, what do you call it? Functional jewelry. So like jewelry that will have like, that people are coming out with AI devices that you'll be able to hang off just as a necklace.
NFT pendant screens as well.
And so like there'll be like dual purpose when it comes to like wearing that kind of jewelry on you.
I'm interested to see where that goes. Sounds all very fascinating.
Yeah.
Let's start wrapping up. Before we go there, I would love to know what masterpiece you've been building for the last hour. And then maybe you can also take a guess on what I've built.
I'm just, I feel like I've just been kind of building, but I stuck to the colors on myself.
What do you think this looks like?
I think it could look like maybe like, it could be like a transformer, or it could be maybe like, this could be solar panels that kind of help with the buildings, electricity. Definitely like solar panel that's also windmill, So based on...
I see it. Yeah, I love it. What do you think this, in comparison, disaster looks like?
No, this looks like, this could be the Acropolis in Egypt, the pillars. Yeah. And you kind of have to climb up to kind of go see them. So this could be one facet of it.
Wow. Yeah, that's exactly what I had in mind. Yeah. How high up it is.
Yeah. And then you kind of make your way up. So hence you need like these sort of gateways up.
It's all thought through. Look at that. I didn't know I was building a masterpiece.
Yeah. One of its kind.
One of its kind. If anyone's looking for a designer, I'm right here. Okay. Final questions. What are some books, movies, role models that have strongly influenced you in your life?
In my life is like a big spectrum because every aspect of my life, like I have someone who like inspires me for fitness and someone who inspires me for comedy, someone who inspires me. My mother is, I know as cliche as it sounds, my mother is my absolute role model because she is fierce and is able to divide herself between culture and business and, you know, and then loves her fashion. And I think if I could be even 5% of her in this lifetime, I would be extremely happy. The kindest person, I mean, the most selfless person, as all moms are and can be. My father's a very savage businessman, so definitely, you know, has influenced me a lot. As for, I love listening to podcasts. Those are my favorite ways to learn. I feel like I'm like really bad at reading books. So if I want to get an educational learn in any way, or even just like take my mind away from what I'm doing, I feel like audiobooks and podcasts are like my favorite. I love Sean Puri, love his YouTube channel, which is like My First Million, which is a YouTube podcast. We were talking about Cleo Abrahams, and I just love that she makes science cool. And you know, she has this series called Huge If True. So it's like she'll look at unconventional subjects in science and modern technology and really explore it. And you feel like you're doing it with her. She had a recent episode also on egg freezing and really the science behind, which I thought was amazing and really shows you egg freezing from a very technical standpoint, like why we're not able to freeze ourselves. What we can freeze right now is eggs. Yeah. And hence that's like a form of cryo, you know, being able to, what do you call it? Like elongate your life, but we can only do it as eggs right now. We can't do it as humans.
Yeah.
So many, so those are some people that
movies.
Movies. I'm such a I'm a big comedy junkie. So anything that is funny. I love watching a lot of stand-up comedy, and I know that's not a movie, but I love stand-up comedies. I feel like it really like helps you work on your wit because, you know, stand-up comedians really need to be like snappy and really know what they're like Akash Singh and all these really fun stand-up comedians. Chelsea Handler is a great interviewer. Lots of fun people. Movies, I love comedy. I love romance. I feel like I go into La La Land when I watch something because I really want to be taken away from. But, you know, all-time favorite, Interstellar. I think
a great comedy and romantic movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A bit of romance, the romance between his family and him, and the sense of like the black hole is all very exciting.
Yeah.
Not really, but yeah. I mean, Love Actually, if it's festive season, you know, you've got some fun, like anything that's like got a bit of British humor. I think I love that as well. What is something, I just watched Nobody Wants This, and I thought it was one of the best TV shows that's created recently. And it's about a hot Jewish rabbi and this podcaster that talks about sex. And it was just the most funniest, and yet had a message of what a modern day relationship could look like. So I think anything that like, you know, keeps me entertained, because I look at these things for entertainment. And yeah.
Okay. Last 3 questions.
Oh, and I love my Bollywood movies when and if like I like, you know, when I feel like I like the actor. I think there's some really good content from there as well.
Let's hear some names. Bollywood.
I love what's the one that Alia Bhatt was in? The one where she is. Okay, you have to give me 1 second. I need to look them up.
Clearly, a movie that had a great impact on you.
No. It did. It was super.
What was she playing?
She was playing the like they all were prostitutes, and then she was kind of like she became like a Gujarati politician. It's really Gangubai.
Yeah.
Really loved Gangubai.
This is the game I can ace. Tell me the plot.
Okay, great. So Rocky Rani, Gangubai, love anything that she's in. I think she's a great actor, so I really enjoy her. I love all the new stuff. I don't know if I love the new set of Bollywood actors just yet. I feel like they still have a long way to go.
Yeah, they're watching, and
No,
more
please.
hate mail coming.
Remove that.
It's fine.
Remove that.
It's over for me.
Remove
This is
that.
the end of my career.
Remove
Okay.
that.
Last 3 questions for you. How do you want your brands to be remembered?
How do I want my brands to be remembered? As in me or my brands?
Your brands, not you.
Definitely. I know it's like a very common word, but unique. I really think I am always trying to create unique things that are very still accessible to wear. And so that versatile. So I really like things that look like they're luxurious, but can be worn even to a lunch. So I love the versatility of a piece being able to go from day to night. And number 3, cultural. I think there's a lot of culture in a lot of what I make, whether it's nature or whether it's the style of craftsmanship I've used or whether it's the stones I'm using.
Let's bring it to you. What would you like your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as funny. She was a very fun and not funny, but a fun entrepreneur. Yeah. She really enjoyed her journey. You know, they say enjoy the process, not necessarily enjoy the journey, not necessarily the end goal.
Yeah.
Hardworking. I really want to be, someone who does take the risks in life.
Final question.
And sorry, can I ask another last word?
Yeah, of course.
Honest. I think just someone who isn't really here to gatekeep, just really wants to share her journey because she feels like maybe someone can benefit from it.
You already have been. And I think this is also a step in that direction. Final question. What is the meaning of life, Payal Shah?
C'est la vie. What is the meaning of life? I have so many meanings to life. One is...
Let's hear all of them. We have all night. Let's go. Yeah.
If you don't ask, you don't get. I say it all the time. I was like, gotta, you have one life. I really do think you have one life, and really try, if it's in your capacity to do so, do whatever that feels good to you. Because I feel like internally, you need to be really happy and satisfied. I always say it's like the 15th floor rule. A lot of people, start at the 15th floor and then try to rise up. But if your 15 floors down aren't solidified and you aren't in the right space and right mind, everything 15 floor up that you build will be a little flimsy. But if you really work on yourself 1 to 15 and then really build on the 15th floor, everything that you build on top will be a form of solid foundation. So even if you're at 15, you can actually go down and really work on your wellness and your conscious and your more spiritual side to build a foundation for the layers that get up to the 15, the floors that get up to the 15th floor. So really make sure your foundation is strong so that everything else that you do in life, take care of yourself, eat well, exercise, get sunlight, speak to your family, laugh, go eat an ice cream, all of those. And then, everything else you build on top will be on a better solid foundation.
Sounds great. A very architecturally oriented meaning of life with the foundations and the floors, but I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. But if people want to connect with you, if they want to connect with the brands, find out more about you, buy one of your products, what is the best way to find you?
I'm on Instagram at Payal. The brands are on my bio as well, both of them. LinkedIn is always a great way if you want to professionally get in touch with me. And I'm on everything, X, Twitter. Threads. What else is left? No, but on a serious note, probably the best way is email, which is payal@L'Dezen.com, or LinkedIn or Instagram, because those are the most often checked.
Those are the ways to find you. Payal, thank you so much. This was a great conversation.
Thank you for having me. This was really fun.